Hey y'all, welcome back to Tailored Parenting Tips. This is tip number 7. Believe them when they've been accused by adults. So picture this. Your 12-year-old child comes home early from school, and when you ask why they home early, because you were expecting them to do an activity like theater, they say to you they're home because they've been accused of threatening a teacher, and in fact, they've been placed into in-school suspension. What would you do? Let's just take a moment to think about this. Well, in my case, I chose to ask my son what happened and to try to understand exactly what he understood to have been the situation and the incident. And to the best of his telling of the story, a conversation happened between him and the teacher where he tried to find a solution for him to be able to run a track meet on the Wednesday when he was supposed to be at the final rehearsal, but still be able to do the play. So for example, he had offered the teacher that he would do whatever was necessary to be able to go to the track meet and still be ready for his part in the musical. When she told him that what's done is done, he became upset and he said, well, in that case, then I quit. Upon hearing him say, I quit, the teacher was very concerned because this was on a Tuesday night that he was quitting, and the musical was going to be on the Thursday night. So she then asked him like, hey, why would you agree to do the play only to quit right before we're supposed to do it? To which he answered, well, I didn't even want to do this play, but you told me that if I didn't audition for the play, then you wouldn't let me play soccer. So that was the exchange between them. There's a difference of opinion as to whether he used the word threatened, but the gist of it is him and the teacher had a conversation. She asked him this question, he answered the question. Another teacher who's a co-director of the musical asked him the same question, he answered it in the same way. And the school administrator, the vice principal, chose to believe that in answering the question that way, Gilbert was threatening the teacher. Once I heard about this, I spent time talking with Gilbert to understand if there was anything that he had left out of his initial telling of what happened. And his story stayed consistent. So from that moment, I chose to believe my son. And I then became his advocate. So I set up a meeting with the vice principal and the principal, and I had a conversation with them to informally understand why this charge of threatening a teacher was levied or made against Gilbert and why he was put into in-school suspension. And once I understood the details of the story from the assistant vice principal, and that those details were pretty consistent with what Gilbert said, except for whether he used the word, if you don't let me, then I'll tell them you threatened me with soccer, which was what was believed to be the threat. Then I asked him informally to remove this charge of threatening a teacher from his record, and also to remove this derogatory remark or remark on his record that he had served in school suspension, because I believe that he hadn't threatened the teacher and it was certainly a misunderstanding, and the teacher had indeed said the words, because the school admitted that the teacher said to him, if you don't audition, then I won't let you play soccer. But she said she was joking. They chose to believe her. I told them I don't have an issue with them choosing to believe her and giving her grace, but I do have a very big issue with them then punishing my son for repeating the words that she said to him. So fast forward to the second meeting I requested, which was a meeting with the teachers involved and Gilbert and the principal. And again, in front of the principal, I asked the teachers to just please relay what happened from their point of view. I gave them a chance to talk, didn't interrupt, didn't argue, just listened to what they had to say. And it became very clear that they also corroborated Gilbert's story that this is what happened. But again, the differences were that they felt that he indeed threatened the teacher, and he tried to use leverage, to use their words, to get her to allow him to do the track meet and to get out of doing the play or the musical. And I reminded them that he actually went to find a solution to allow him to do both, not to get out of the play and run the track meet. And also that the accusations that they added to the charge, which was that he tried to persuade other students not to do the play and tried to persuade his understudy not to do the play, were not factually correct. And I asked them for evidence, and they could not give me any evidence that Gilbert told any other child not to do the play. But all this conjecture was added to the charge that was levied against him. And so to make a long story short and to conclude, I then had to enter into a formal process of formally complaining about the decision and asking for the decision and the remarks on the student record to be removed. The first formal complaint was to the principal himself, and he denied my request and said, in fact, there was no charge of threatening the teacher that was levied against Gilbert. The charge instead was that he was insubordinate. He failed to comply with the teacher's directions, and he kept trying to persuade the teacher that he should go and run the track meet. So then I took exception to that, and I launched a second level formal complaint, a level 2 formal complaint in the school district that we're in. And I pointed out the facts again, that I went through 2 meetings or 3 meetings at that stage, and no one mentioned the fact that the charge was indeed insubordination, one, but also indeed, if the charge was insubordination, that's not a charge that was proven by the facts as they were relayed to me and the principal throughout the meetings that we had. And so I'm very happy to report that the level 2 complaint was decided favorably, in the sense that the decision that he should have served in school suspension, as well as the remark on his student record, were overturned, and the remark has now been removed. And I share this story because as parents, sometimes our kids will come home and an adult or an administrator from school would have accused them of something or said something about their conduct or things that they've done. And it's sometimes difficult to believe the child over the adult. But in this case, the lesson I learned, that I hope that you will learn, is it's important to listen to our children, or not learn, but perhaps you've already learned the lesson, but my hope would be that we are willing to listen to our children and to support them in these difficult situations, because it says a lot to a child when their parent is willing to go and fight on their behalf against an injustice and a decision that the child feels was wrong to begin with, but also like all the difficulty that any 12-year-old would face when they're dealing with adults who have made up their mind about what the child said or did or intended. So if this video has been helpful and you found it to be helpful, why don't you give me a like? And if you like the tips and find them useful, why don't you subscribe to the channel? And if you think others would benefit from these tips, why don't you please share the video? Okay, y'all. See you soon.